mailbag today.
The first one, hold on to your butts, people. Mark Leary writes, I know John is a Star Wars fan, but he seems to hate on so much of the other Star Wars properties. As a kid of 5 queuing up to watch Star Wars in 1977, anything that has the sound of a lightsaber or a laser blast, I am in, for better or worse. Yeah, the prequels weren't brilliant and Hayden Christensen was wooden, understatement. But it's Star Wars. Maybe we could have someone else on the Jedi Council panel that loves Star Wars full stop. The Jedi Council seems to be a celebration of all things Star Wars, but John often picks holes in things. We all know that they are there, but we gloss over them because we love Star Wars. Cue John's rant now.
Well, I mean, to say that I don't love, I mean, what is fair to say is that my primary love of Star Wars is the movies. I mean, because that's what started it all. That is the heart of all of it. You can ask anybody at Lucasfilm, they'll tell you that is the heart of everything, is the movies. It's also unfair to say that I dislike everything else that's Star Wars. I love Tarkin. I love Rebels. I'm so looking forward to Aftermath. And look, I ain't the only one that didn't like New Dawn. I ain't the only, all three of us on the panel did not like Heir to the Jedi, but we're going to do our review of that later. All three of us on the panel are not fans of the prequels, but that's not really the issue here. The issue here to me, and by the way, thank you for the question, is that something that I think is a real problem in not just Star Wars fandom, but film fandom, regardless of genre in general. Here's what I mean by this. A little bit of background to me, okay? My earliest childhood memory, I've said this before, is my mom watching Star Wars with me. I don't have any memory of my life prior to that. I honestly don't. So as far as my conscious mind goes, I have been a Star Wars fan my whole life. My very first pet was a cat my parents got me, and they allowed me to name it Luke Skywalker. That was the name of my cat. No surprise, it ran away about 2 years later. I had the pajamas, I had the bed sheets, I had everything. Everything about my life, even growing up as an adult, was based around my love of Star Wars. It influenced everything about me from a creative point of view and really pushed me in the direction that I kind of take with my life now, which is all things creative and in different ways that I can get involved in it. So you have to understand that about me. I drove 2,000 miles to watch The Phantom Menace in my favorite movie theater. John, why didn't you drive? Because why didn't you fly? Because honestly, it was my religious pilgrimage. It was my Mecca. It was me and a couple other friends decided we were going to road trip it because this was that important to us, that's how we were going to experience Star Wars. But then comes this notion that if you're going to be a fan of Star Wars, and this is the minority of people, and I am certainly, none of my comments right now are addressed to people who legitimately love the prequels. You know I hate them and I don't like them, but all film's subjective, and if you love the prequels, that's all that matters, and my opinion shouldn't shake your love of those films in any way. So my comments aren't pointed at those people. My comments are pointed at people like you, Mark, who I'm really glad you wrote this in, who say, okay, yeah, we get it, the prequels suck, but let's gloss over it. You write in your question, let's gloss over it. Let's just love it full stop anyway. See, to me, that's not love. That's denial. Love is not sticking your head in the sand. Love is not disillusioning yourself. Love is not denial. You see, when you love something, you want the best for it. You want the best out of it. Maybe an unhealthy amount of yourself becomes focused around that thing. Let me do what I often do, which is bring up a sports analogy. You talk about football fans, right? Go to New York City, man. Go to New York and talk to some people there about the Giants, the New York Football Giants. They are some of the most passionate, irrationally out of their heads, in love with their sports teams that you will ever see. But they also call it like it is. Their love for their team drives them to call into sports radio and complain about the things that are being done wrong. Not because they want to nitpick and complain, but it's because they love the Giants. And I'm sorry, but if you love something and you watch those prequels and you understand that they're terrible and they're bad, like you seem to suggest in your question, then I have to question your love for them if it doesn't make a little part of you die inside when you see the object of your love doing something so poorly. If you look at something that you propose to love and it doesn't hurt you, dissuade you, damage you, make a little part of your soul die inside when you see it not executing well, then I'm sorry, my friend, you don't love Star Wars. You like Star Wars. When you love Star Wars, you are impassioned for it. And that means you see the good and you see the bad. When you love somebody, like a person in your life, my wife knows every bad, rotten thing about me. She doesn't stick her head in the sand to say she loves me. In order for her to say she loves John, she doesn't have to brainwash herself into forgetting all the bad things that are about me. No, what makes her love special is that she acknowledges the rotten things about me. She's aware of the negative things about me and loves me in total anyway, without sticking her head in the sand, like I said before. These are things. Blind fandom is not fandom at all. Look, if you love Star Wars and you love The Phantom Menace and you love Rebels and you love The Clone Wars and you love all the things, that is great if it comes from that legitimate point of view. But don't stick your head in the sand. I'm a Toronto Maple Leafs fan. Have been my whole life, always will be. I bleed blue and white. But they suck. They've sucked for a long time. But just because they suck doesn't mean I deny my love for them and how much I love them. Because guess what? Any weak-minded fool can just say, everything about this thing is awesome and therefore I love it. It takes a true fan with true love to say, yeah, that's bad and that's bad and that's bad. And then look you in the eye and say, but I love it anyway because it's that important to me. I love Star Wars with every ounce of my frickin' being. And as long as I do, I will call out the bad things that I don't like, and I'm going to love it anyway. Star Wars Celebration. You saw some pictures of fans that are really happy and cheering for a great trailer. You know who are the guys that had the tears in their eyes? The ones who know how bad the prequels sucked. Because the movies mean that much more to us. And to sit back and watch the trailer for The Force Awakens come out in all of its frickin' glory. Those of us who love Star Wars passionately and deeply are coming off of the pain and the heartbreak and the soul crushing of the prequels. When we see that trailer, it means so much to us who can appreciate where it's now come from and recovered from, that it brings literal tears to our eyes, joy to our hearts, and a song into our souls, ladies and gentlemen. Those are the people who appreciate the new Star Wars the most.
I love Star Wars as well, not as much as you do, or Maud, or Christian. Sometimes when I'm working AMC Jedi Council, I'm thinking, this may be the nerdiest show on YouTube. That being said, if I were on there, I don't have the deep knowledge of Star Wars like you guys do, but I don't like the prequels either. They're not like M. Night Shyamalan bad, but they're pretty terrible. But one of my favorite things that I've ever done on AMC was when we did the 24-hour marathon. Yeah. It was you, me, and Schnepp at like probably like 19 of 24. And for like a good 45 minutes, it's you, me, and Schnepp just talking trash about the prequels.
I remember that.
Yeah,
that was
if
so
you guys want to check that out, that was like the very beginning of 2014, our 24-hour marathon.
Like I said from the beginning, if you love the prequels, that is awesome. Good for you. I'm glad somebody can appreciate them. What my problem is in fandom, and this stretches out to Marvel fanboys, to DC fanboys, who will just go, who like to the Star Wars fans who say, I know that the Star Wars prequels are bad, but I'm not going to say it. I'm going to stick my head in the sand and stick my fingers in my ear and sing, everything is awesome.
Dark Knight Rises, anyone?
Yeah, and don't forget, folks, everything is awesome in the Lego movie was written by the villain who just wanted to pretend everything was okay.
That was harsh, Dennis.
And that was...
Dark Knight Rises, there's a lot of people that put their head... And I like that movie. But
I liked it too.
There's a lot of people who like, no, there's nothing wrong with it.
Yeah.
Nothing.
It's a Nolan film, therefore it's a masterpiece.
Yeah.
It's a perfect masterpiece. Yeah.
And
Marvel people do it. DC people do it. That's not true fandom. Ignoring mistakes that you yourself acknowledge in your own head and then pretending they don't exist, that's not fandom. That's just denial. And it's not real love of film. So anyway, that's my rant on